Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everyone. Does everybody not love that intro song, by the way? I think it's wonderful. It gets me going and gets me fired up and ready to rock and roll. But happy Monday, everyone. Happy trading. Happy week ahead. I'd like to welcome everyone by doing a quick little question for the chat. Where is everyone from? We haven't done this since I think literally our very first episode, but as we're building this community and building this family, I think it's good to get to know everyone and get to know where everyone is from. So I'd like to ask you all, where are you from? Drop it in the chat. Give us a like. Oh my gosh. So Denmark, Toronto, Sweden, Guam, North Korea. Wow, only one from North Korea probably. But drop it in there if you haven't yet. Again, I want everyone to get to know each other. Let's say hi. Let's get to form this community. If you have not yet liked this stream, that's okay. You are not in timeout yet. We're just getting going, but go ahead and give the stream a like. If you have not shared the stream, don't worry. You are not in timeout yet. So we'd like to give that stream a like, and I'll give you a little preview of what we have today. We got a little bit of econ data that's coming out throughout the course of this week, so we'll talk about that. We gapped a little bit lower off of the open today, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at ES and NQ. We're going to deliver for you the most interesting chart of the day. Every single day on the show, we give you the most interesting chart of the entire day, so we will be bringing that one and more and more and more and more to come. Without further ado, I would like to welcome our very good friend, Miss Bull Barbie, onto the stream with me. And I am going to ask Bull Barbie to give us a walkthrough of ES and NQ in a second here. What's up?
Good morning, Luke. Did you survive May the 4th? Was it with you?
Yes, May the 4th was with me.
Of course, now we're thrown right into Cinco de Mayo. I was trying to find some Cinco de Mayo themed stuff this morning, but I didn't find that much on trading.
Are you partying today for it?
Every day. Got to party every day.
Every day,
yeah,
right?
so the theme of the day would be, margaritas and queso and tacos. So let's do it.
All right, if you're giving me permission to eat my Tostitos cold, crusty Tostito cheese at 9 a.m, I will do it in about 20 minutes.
I mean, if you're trading at home, you make your own rules to your own detriment or success. So that's up to you.
Wait, Barbie, I need to tell you something that I'm so happy about. Okay, I might have told you this last week, but on May the 4th, I was a godfather for this little baby. You see him?
Yeah, I think that makes you a Jedi now, right?
I'm a Jedi. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
All right, what do we got?
Well, this week, of course, is FOMC week. So we need to take everything that we're thinking of in the market in context of it being FOMC week. Some people make a huge, ginormous deal out of it. It does happen 10 times a year. It is a big deal, but it does happen 10 times a year. So it's something we have to pay attention to. And we can go over that a little bit more, but let's go ahead and get started on ES. So I, of course, first pull up the daily, kind of see where we are to start the week. And we're up in this area, kind of pushing the 2 ATR Keltner channel on ES, kind of bounced off of that on Friday. Something I'm kind of watching is these EMAs. I don't use a ton of EMAs. I just have my favorites on here. The blue one's the 50 and the purpley one is the 200. And I'm noticing that we're kind of sandwiched between those two. I wonder if we're just going to stay between those two until we're waiting for the FOMC data to hit on Wednesday. So that's kind of the big picture thing that I'm watching. There's definitely, so when we're coming into FOMC, there's usually a lot of slowness in the market and it can go kind of flat. But one of the nice things right now is we've had these really wide ranges. So even flat is kind of interesting. So here is the hourly that we were looking at last week. So what we had noticed last week is we were in this channel. We had a little false break below and then immediately reclaimed it and went through the top of it. So I'm kind of watching the same area to see if we're going to continue holding that. So for levels, well, we'll talk about kind of what shapes I think could potentially fill out, and then I'll give you kind of levels on it. But so this is kind of the hourly shapes that we're working on. And so I mark gaps in yellow. Obviously, this gap has been filled. We can tell that we spent last week filling this gap. But these levels are still going to be important. So I haven't totally taken it off my chart yet. I'm wondering if we're going to kind of get stuck kind of chopping around in here for a little bit. But it's also important to note we have 10 a.m. news. So 10 a.m. is ISM PMI. So that's a pretty decent number. So that's coming in at 10. So I'm kind of looking to see what's going to happen after that 10 o'clock hour. So far, we opened up and have dropped down, moved lower. I think that some of these levels that are going to come into play a lot today are going to be kind of down here, this 5630 level, and then the 5680, and then maybe up here around the 5700. So what I think some kind of likely scenarios to kind of target those levels. I'm watching to see if we kind of drop down and test the 5630 level, and or even we have the smaller one in here, the 5651, but you can just kind of consider it the 5650. That was a swing high or low, I don't know, from a little while ago. So that level keeps kind of coming up too. But I'm wondering if we kind of keep moving lower to kind of find where our support is going to be earlier in the week. If it's going to be around 5650 or 5630. The 5630 is more interesting to me than the 50. But I want to see if that level holds and then brings us back up to target 50 and 80, and potentially if we can really get some bullish move going to retest the 5700 area. On the other side, if that 5630 level fails, I'm really kind of looking back down at the 5600 level again. We've got some trend lines starting. This is that trend line that was on the hourly, and then we've got a whole bunch of levels that the market would kind of have to chew through down here. I think it's going to be slow to get below 5600. I think it's going to be moving kind of slow. So that's what I'm looking at kind of initially out the door on Monday. I don't like to kind of get married to an idea ahead of FOMC and everything. I kind of want to see how the market's preparing for that a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of watch and see how we react to 5700 and 5630 off the get-go. We also have this pre-market, or it's not the pre-market, it's Friday's high at 5725. That would definitely be a bullish target if we get moving. I mean, the bullish targets are really bullish. I think I want to talk about them kind of later in the week because we have stuff well into the 5800s. But in order to get there, we're going to have to get through that high. And we have 5740, 5772, kind of the 75 area, really. So there's a lot of kind of targets as we start moving up here. So I'm really just interested to see if the 30 level holds. That would be step one, or if we're going to test lower. And then if the market wants to keep kind of walking higher. Any questions on ES?
Yeah, let me throw one out there. So Barbara, you mentioned we've got a decent news item at 10 a.m. We also have the open at 9:30. We're sort of hanging out in between, a couple levels that you think we could test. What does 9:30 do for you, the open versus the 10 a.m. news? Any difference in the move you'd expect out of those?
Well, for the Monday opens, I very, 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 very rarely play a Monday open. They seem to be kind of extra choppy and I guess illogical a little bit. Just kind of seems like some orders are just being thrown out there, and I want to stay out of the way of that. So that's why I'm more interested in seeing where price takes us at that open. See if we make it all the way down here to this 5630. Ideally, this would be at 10 or a little after 10 when we might be able to take a bounce down here or a reject up here. But the way I am going to approach it is let the Monday opening craziness get out of the way and then kind of see if we set up good for something that will happen after the 10. Like if we get a move off of the 10 a.m. news, hopefully we can pick up a continuation. The thing is, on FOMC weeks, you've seen it where the price will have a really great kind of morning session and then it just dies real quick. That happens a lot on FOMC weeks before we get there. So that's something that I'm going to be kind of watching out for on that.
Okay. Could you flip us to the other side of the world? NQ.
Yeah, let's take a look at NQ.
Let you ask other questions about ES, and then we got a lot of people said I only trade NQ. I don't know.
I get it. So some of y'all just like NASDAQ because it feels a little more spicy, and I get it. I get it. Let me turn my magic levels off here for a second. And so on the NASDAQ, we're kind of, I mean, the NASDAQ's kind of been following the same shapes and everything that the ES has. You know, let me go over to my magic levels chart real quick. Bear with me. This one, I want to put, so just so we can compare. So this is what the ES looks like. And I always keep the same indicators and the same Keltner channels on just so I can get a sense of the shape. When we move over to NASDAQ, it's going to be pretty much the same shape. So we're going to be watching kind of the same thing. This is the way I look at trading NASDAQ when ES is kind of my primary market. I can just kind of find the same levels that I was looking at on the NASDAQ that I was just looking at on the NQ. So the same thing, again, we've got the 2 ATR Keltner lining up with that 200 SMA, and that's right at 20,317 or so. And then we have the 50 SMA that's hanging around down here around 19,575 or so, 78. So this is kind of that wider range that I'm looking to see if the market kind of hangs inside of ahead of FOMC. And then so you can see this is that same, so we'll have that same channel on here that I had pulled up from last week on the ES, and this is literally how I do it. When I want NASDAQ levels, I just literally come and pull the same thing. Well, that's not cooperating with me. There it is. So there's that kind of level. See how the chart pattern is almost exactly the same. So we've got this high up here that we're going to be watching. That was the Friday high around 20,276. And then we've kind of got this other low down here, 19,775, 78 or so. So this is kind of that initial range that I'll be watching. And then if we travel lower, so on ES, I was looking to see if we're going to travel lower and kind of tag some of these lows from last week. So there's 19,900. If we do start hitting, if we do bounce one of these kind of low levels out here, the target that I would be looking for on NASDAQ is going to be up here near the open. So that would be 20,186 or so. So if we get a bounce down here and start moving back higher, that's kind of where my main target would be for that sort of move. So anytime you're trying to analyze kind of a sister market to the one that you're kind of really familiar with, you can always find similarities or differences if they're contrasting. That's another way you can look at it, is which one has not been keeping up as much. So those are all kind of things I'll keep in mind. This is why I love ES and NASDAQ, because they are such close, they're kind of like fraternal twins. They're really close sisters, and you can kind of cheat off of one, get to the other one real quick.
All right. And what about VIX? Where does VIX fall in like your morning rigmarole? So you just looked at ES, you looked at NQ. You said they're like the twins that sort of move together. VIX,
Yeah.
I would say, is the opposite almost. Where does that fall in your review?
I'm always looking to see if it's kind of doing the opposite thing, and I'm looking for more general trends on VIX than anything else. We have kind of gapped up a little bit on VIX, but what I noticed and why I didn't really bring this up is it's not a big deal moving from 22 to 24, and so it hasn't totally gotten my attention. And this move does make sense because the indexes have moved lower overnight in pre-market, and so it makes sense that the VIX has moved higher. But I do want to make sure that, especially right now when the VIX has had such a great reverse correlation, that I'm not countering anything that the VIX is doing. So if I want to take that bounce on the ES or the NASDAQ kind of off of the 10 a.m. news, I want to make sure that the VIX is moving down. If the VIX gets a huge spike off of that 10 a.m. news or any news, I'm not going to counter that spike. If the VIX is moving up, the indexes are going to want to move lower. And so even if I have a good idea going to the other way, I'm probably not going to mess with it.
Okay. And Barbie, let me ask this one to you and to the chat. But do you think we should do some free giveaways today?
I think the obvious answer to that is yeah.
Yes.
But let's make sure that people want it. Chat, giveaways? Y'all are scared they're going to take the giveaways away.
We're already at 900 viewers on the day, which is not bad. A decent start. But I need to see a good chunk more flowing.
We gotta pay the like tax too. Make sure you hit. It's just a little click.
Yeah, that's a good point. How many likes are we at, chat? Because I can't see from the YouTube studio view, which I think is an inherent flaw of YouTube. Short Google, I guess, because of that observation that I made. We're only at 110 likes. That's crazy.
Let's try to refresh it. My computer's being slow.
Oh, yeah. Y'all need to refresh. It's got to be more than 110.
Well, eventually I'll find out.
All right, let's ask this one too. All right, bias on the day. If you are bullish and leaning towards the bullish side, put a 1 in the chat. If you are feeling bearish, leaning bearish on the day, put a 2 in the chat. Bullish 1. There it goes. Now it's flying. Oh my gosh. One more bullish. What do you think of that, Barbie?
I'm trying to keep up with them. I'm seeing a lot of 1s, but then a lot of 2s came in. There, we got a real pull. We have a flat in there too, but so let's think about how are we gonna? How's the opening session gonna go? The morning session. One. We got some enthusiasm there. Lots of 1s. Yeah, Bubba wants choppish, choppish, bullish, bearish, choppish. Okay. Well, so since we're talking about FOMC, this is probably going to kind of be the theme of the week because I want to make sure that everyone knows kind of what to expect and what to trading. So let's go over to, I'm going to show you one of my tools. Okay, this is going to be a tool that you can use throughout the year, but also when we're coming into FOMC, this is going to be a good one for you. So I want to introduce you to the FedWatch tool. I cheat off of this all the time, but let's talk about what it is. And here's the website if you want to go to it. It's on cmegroup.com. If you Google the FedWatch tool, it should come up, but there's the address if you need it. So it'll even tell you when the next FOMC meeting is. I know it's always a question, when's the next meeting? So you can get it here. And I'll get this off the screen. Here we have this chart, and I look at this chart all the time. Since we are coming up on this meeting and it's just 2 days away, it's going to be extremely skewed like this. But I'll start here and we'll kind of take a look through some of the other ones. So the current rate is 425 to 450. So that's when you hear about the BPS, that's what they're talking about. Excuse me. The current rate, what this is saying, so we have 98.2% on the 425 to 450. That means 98.2% of the participants that they're looking at are saying that we're going to keep the rate the same. So that's a pretty strong majority are saying that for this meeting on Wednesday, May 7th, that we're looking at keeping the rate the same. Something interesting that I like to watch is how this changes over time. And since this meeting is coming up in just a couple days, when you're in that week, it'll almost always be skewed like this, unless it's something like 2021 where we really didn't know what Powell was going to do. It'll be really dramatic like this. But you can go to the compare tool over here, and
this is really cool.
Yeah, you can go to the compare tool and see how it's changed. So you can see this is the one that was at 98.2%. You can see it started out lower, and the chance of the rate being 400 to 425 was higher, but the chance of that rate drop has gone down. So that's when we compare, we can see how this has gone over time. And then if you want to go back to I'll go back to the current for a second. One of the most important things for FOMC is how this is going to develop over time. So we're not just looking at this meeting. As day traders, I think we get real short-sighted and we're just looking at this immediate meeting. But we have the whole year. Like I said, we have 10 of these a year. So we're going to look at the next one, and we'll start kind of seeing how these rates are going to change too. So right now for the next meeting, which is in the middle of June, there's only a 68% chance that we're going to pause or keep the rate the same. And all of these other probabilities are lower. So right now, the lean is that we're going to have that there's a decent chance, not a huge chance, but a decent chance that we're going to have a rate drop in June. Now, the farther we go out, the more this will be skewed, because the farther in the future, the more unknown everything is. So you can also go to the compare on these and see how these are changing. So right now, because we haven't gotten these rate drops, these chances of the really, really low rates are decreasing. So that's another thing that we can see. There's a lot of other kind of, you can go through here, and I would encourage you, I'm not going to go through every single one of these here today, but there's all sorts of statistics and everything that you can pull. You can get all of this historical data and see how the rates change. But this is a really good thing to help you understand what to expect on Wednesday and some of the things that are going into it. I think I messed the crew up. I was supposed to let them run an intro screen.
That's okay. It was well done. How do users navigate to that again?
So I Google the CME FedWatch tool, but
Okay.
here's the web address up here too. If you're on the CME, the CME website is actually really great. There's tons of resources on here. There's statistics on other things too, and you can get all the information that you never read to start from on futures products that you trade and how they work and things. So the cmegroup.com, great website. This is under cmegroup.com/markets/interest-rates/cme.fed/FedWatch/tool. So, but there's other information in here too. So if you have some time and you're really interested in this stuff, go read through this. Once I found this website, this was really, really great. But focusing on the FedWatch tool today, since we have FOMC on Wednesday.
Woo! It's a big one.
It is. So when I say that, well, my group has heard me say that we're not expecting a change. This is what I'm talking about. I've looked over here and seen that this is 95% or more.
All right. So, to all of you out there watching, I got a couple things. One, we will have giveaways right around the corner. So, if you're tuning in for more than just riveting commentary from myself, critical levels, ideas, chart setups from Barbie, know that is right around the corner for you. So stay tuned. Two, every single day on this show, we try to deliver what is the most interesting chart of the day. Barbie goes through the lengths to prepare and get set up for us and figure out, here's what I think is the most interesting chart in the day. It's not just ES, it's not just NASDAQ. It is something else that she deems as most interesting. So Barbie, I'm going to ask you to do the most interesting chart of the day. Once you're through with that, we'll be a few minutes into the open. Would you mind just rolling straight into ES and just doing a quick open check as well after that?
Sure. Let's do it. Well, I'm going to start here since we do have 1 minute and 10 seconds left into the open. So I'm just going to kind of remind you, now that I'm peeled down to kind of these smaller time frame charts. I want to see if we get a move lower. That would just set up a bounce higher later. If we start rallying immediately and kind of hit this 5680 level, I'm gonna have to kind of reevaluate that. So well, I guess we'll kind of get back to that once we get into the open here. Those levels I gave you earlier, I want to see how the open reacts to them. So for most interesting chart of the day, I was really trying hard to find something interesting for Cinco de Mayo themed, but everything like Chipotle is boring right now. It actually just is. So I thought we should talk about crude because this kind of keeps coming up. This is another one. If you're a nerd and you want to go read about this, this is actually kind of a historical thing that's happening on crude. I'm a history nerd. I love history. I love studying history, and so I was trying to catch up on what in the world is going on with crude and kind of notice some things. One of the things that I noticed is this seems to be kind of politically motivated, what's going on with crude. So crude is way, way down. This is what I'm trying to show you when I zoom out here. That was up at 71. If I zoom out more, I mean, it's going to be all the way up here, almost to 80. The crude's been much higher. But what OPEC has done is OPEC's playing games. So I don't want to get into all the politics. I'm not so familiar with what every single country is doing and every single thing. But back in the day, if you're old enough to remember the USSR, there was a whole bunch of drama on the fall of the USSR, and oil was one of the tools that the other countries in OPEC used to really kind of crush the USSR. I think it's around 60% of their exports are oil or energy. So if you can hit them there, you're hitting them pretty hard. And that's exactly what happened in the 80s when at the fall of the USSR, one of the tools they used against them was oil, because if you crush the price of oil by increasing supply, then you really hurt the people that are have most of their GDP and their income and everything on oil. So here we are down here. We're super, super low again. Why is this happening? This isn't the US involved so much. It looks like it's more the Saudis and some of the people that are more bigger movers, bigger players in OPEC right now. But they're crippling Russia. So Russia's still in the same situation that the USSR was, where we've got crude just being beat up on because it hurts Russia. If Russia can't make decent money on their oil exports, it's not just crude. They have I'm picking on crude because it's the big major one, but there'll be the other products that are kind of the byproducts of crude, or the similar products like natural gas and things. There's a lot of energy products. If you can hit them at energy, then they're not going to have as much money for war efforts and things. And so when I was doing some reading over the weekend, trying to catch up on what all this drop last week was about, that's what's going on. We've got OPEC intentionally increasing supply to reduce the price, to hit some of these countries, namely Russia, where it hurts. So I saw some likes. I don't know how you like about the current events, but in crude, it's a really, really important thing. You have to pay attention to what OPEC is doing and how crude oil is being used as a pawn when we're really getting into some of these geopolitical things. So I watch crude as kind of an extra market that I'll watch for when the indexes are being boring. That hasn't really been happening much lately. The indexes have been really exciting, but so's oil right now. So I wanted to point that one out. Let's see. Yeah, we're 3 minutes into the open. I did that one a little bit fast, but that's okay because we can watch the open. So what I was watching at the corner of my eye while I was trying to remember all the points I wanted to make about crude oil was just this candle developing here. For a little bit on ES, it looked like it was trying to move lower. So far, we've gone absolutely nowhere. But the other corner of my eye, this is an hourly. I'm going to peel down to a smaller time frame. On the VIX, the VIX is trying to drop off of this open here. So it might be that we're not going to get that move lower that I was hoping for. Oh, y'all are throwing out all kinds of stuff this morning too. Y'all are going longs only. All right, y'all are wildin'. But we do have this candle is not really able to move much lower right now. We've got VIX moving higher. This is kind of sloppy though. This is that sloppy stuff when we've got the VIX moving one way and the indexes are kind of not really doing much. Yeah. I'm watching the volume a little bit too. So we're coming into the first 5 minutes. I'm watching the volume on this candle. For the S&P, 20,000 contracts traded is not super impressive. So I do think that a lot of the other participants are kind of holding back. Look at YM. Oh, yeah, let's look at YM. Okay, so this is my chart. I keep meaning to change the color of this one because it's hard to see on this background. But we've got I was telling you how boring ES and NASDAQ is, and here's YM. The Russell's moving up higher too. So there is some action on Dow. So on Dow, this is kind of that same. I was kind of looking for that open area. If Dow gets moving, that would be 41,400 or so. Luke is back. Luke, are you
back.
watching YM here too?
I'm watching it with you. If that counts for anything.
Oh, now it's slowing down too. See, we're
I'll
getting a
say
new
it's
open.
more interesting, but not great.
Well, it was. Now it's trying to pull back a little bit. But you can see what I'm looking at here. So we've got the VIX moving lower and the indexes they're trying to move higher, but they're not doing much. I think we just don't have the volume in the market yet, probably because it's Monday morning and everyone's still a little slow getting to the computer. And
yeah, and it could be
waiting for
like
that
something
news.
that you were alluding to earlier in the stream, Barbie, which is like a little bit of wait and see for
Yeah.
FOMC decision on Wednesday. Maybe a lot of big money is sitting on the sidelines to see where we come in. There's been all the Trump back and forth over this between meetings. So
Yeah, that's true too. I keep commenting too. I'm on Fridays. I am so much more cautious of Trump lately. I've just noticed this pattern. We don't hear as much from Trump on Mondays. We hear a lot from Trump on Fridays. So I've been paying more and more attention to that.
okay, that's interesting. I have not noticed that one, but now I'm certainly going to be paying attention to it.
But that's a classic PR thing. You drop the crazy news on a Friday when the reaction to it isn't going to be as strong and drawn out, and nobody's going to be talking to it all week. So you're going to go party over the weekend and forget about it. But we are definitely seeing that initial chop. Sometimes the market just makes it easy, and it's like, yeah, this Monday open is not the time to go throw your full. You shouldn't be going and YOLOing your full account right now.
It looks like NQ might have a little bit of strength.
It could. It's got the relative strength right now. The tape is lighting up with buyers. I just don't know if it's going to hold because we don't have the same enthusiasm in the other markets right now. That's why people like trading NASDAQ, though, is it'll do crazy, spicy things without everybody else.
And I will give you all out there a little applause. We asked maybe about, okay, I can see exactly 16 minutes ago. 16 minutes ago, we asked, what is your bias for the day? 63% of you said you were bullish. 37% of you said you were bearish. And so for all of you bulls out there, even if it is a muted move, you did call the move. So congratulations on that. I'll stall a little bit more too while we wait for a couple more candles to develop.
I would love to at least watch the 15-minute range open on a Monday. So we got like 10 minutes left.
Yeah, you got a ways to go. So okay, so let me pivot over to this. Today, first day ever on this channel, on this YouTube channel, we are bringing to you an extra hour of content. Can I get a W in the chat for that? So not just 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern, but now we're going to be 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Ash Trades, some of you may know, is going to be guiding us through the additional hours. So Barbie and I have your first 90 minutes, and then Ash is going to take us through an hour of streaming and trading and content. So stay tuned. If you have not shared this with your friends or with your grandma or your parents or whoever else in your life you think could be a subscriber on this YouTube channel, share it now. Because we work hard for you guys. And again, we want to show that MyFundedFutures is more than just a trustworthy, transparent platform, but that we are, there for you. We're there to make a community. We're there to put in the extra work and, be for you all what we know this community can be.
And get grandma trading also. Because I think you get discouraged when you're older that you don't have time to invest. You got time to day trade. Get grandma day trading.
Yes, exactly. And of course, per usual, we will have some freebies. Okay, coming at some point. Get grandma day trading. Get grandma some freebies. I mean, there's a lot for grandma to look forward to. All right, Barbie. While you're doing that, I want to talk about earnings for a second, and I'm pulling up my earnings calendar here.
I'll get mine up too.
Oh, okay. So you're a step ahead of
Well,
me.
this is.
You always have to one up me. I see. Okay.
No, I'm just getting ready. Mine wasn't ready because it was on last week.
All right. So, I mean, we have a good number of earnings this week. Today, we got Palantir, Hims, Ford after the close.
Hims has had a lot of activity lately. I don't know how the options are going to move and things for earnings, but that one's been up and down everywhere.
So,
And
I guess
they do have penis pills, so that makes sense.
yeah, it's a heck of a business. It seems. If there's something that's easy to sell, they might have nailed it.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it.
Anyway,
Okay, good.
a little bit much for a Monday morning. Anyway.
But like, I mean, do you trade any of these stocks? Like tomorrow, I'm looking at AMD is out. Wednesday, we got Uber,
No.
Disney.
I used to day trade AMD options a lot. If you want something that moves fast and can either make you really happy or really sad fast, that would be AMD options. I don't know if I'm going to play it for earnings. Sometimes, so I have a few different ways I'll play earnings. One of my favorite ways is an earnings build-up play, but for that, I need to be paying attention really kind of a couple of weeks ahead of time. But if you go look up something that you're interested in, it could be Tesla or Apple or Hims, whatever it is, and just go look at the previous charts of what happened after, before and after earnings, because a lot of stocks they'll follow the same pattern. I know Amazon does too. It tends to float into earnings. It'll kind of make the same move heading into earnings, and then you can kind of carry the options towards that move. If it's something that tends to make the same kind of move, whether it tends to drift up or down heading into that earnings call, you can buy the earnings a week or two out. And you just have to be a little bit right about direction, because once you have the implied volatility and everything added to those contracts, as long as you're rightish, it's pretty easy to make money on it. And then you can close before earnings or leave a runner if you know that the trade worked out well enough and there's not so much stress.
All right. Question for you all out there in the chat. If you are trading any stocks this week, which again, we had a big earnings week last week. We got a big earnings week this week ahead. Put the symbol in the chat. If you're going to be trading any of the stocks, put the ticker in the chat. Again, there's a lot of good ones.
We got DraftKings, we got Coinbase. I'm just looking at some of these. Shopify is a big one.
It's a great one.
Peloton's usually a hilarious one because it'll go
disaster. Remember that when Peloton was going to take over the world?
Yeah. No, I was traveling. I remember that one because I was traveling. I was on the road, had my little laptop, and still traded that because I was like, no. Peloton's not going up. Y'all are on crack.
Guys, $150 stock. Holy moly. Yeah. That was rough.
And then AMC is in here too, but that one has been popular more for the GMC. If you're late to GMC, you play AMC or GME. Sorry, GMC.
Yeah. I get it.
We've been shopping for cars too, so I got cars on the brain. But
yeah, we know what you're talking about. But even then, you're sort of late on that one at this point.
Yeah, a little bit, just a few years.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So I mean, we have some Palantir is a good one.
Yeah.
Some Costco, AMD.
Palantir, Costco, those all have good options to move. The other thing you have to watch is sometimes these will have good moves, but their options trade like crap. So that's why I was trying to bring up some that actually have some options that move. Like ANET, I've never played that one. It's on there, but I don't know if their options are going to play. Ford is another one. The options, because they're going to, it might move from $9 to $10 or something like that. It's just, you don't get a huge, the options don't move that well. So I tend to look for something, if I'm going to be playing options, I want something that the premiums move a lot. And you can actually, on your broker, you should be able to pull up the chart for your actual options contract and see how that moves too. I do that all the time. I don't have it on my screen share, but if you pull up an options chain and click on, and you link it to your chart, you should be able to pull up, and you can look at it in hourly, and you can find targets on those premiums for where some of these plays might be. Rivian 2's on here. Rivian's definitely one to watch. Just noticed that one. Their logo sucks on this chart, but it's there. Rivian.
Michigan based.
Are they?
Yeah, it's
Why
actually
did I
my
not know
hometown.
that?
A little city called Plymouth, Michigan. Yeah.
Okay, we just got some crazy candles. I'm watching.
All right, let's look.
I'm trying to see if there's some news or something happening. I don't see anything yet. Somebody has an idea and they're positioning for that news. That's what's happening.
For the
But
10
we did
a.m.
not get that move down. Yeah, we did not get that move down I wanted. So we got 15 minutes left for the big move today. Or did we have? We might have had some less important news. I had it filtered for. I just wrote down my highest. What did we have?
Hold on. I'm getting it. All right, 9:45. We had we did flash services PMI. No, I'm sorry. U.S. services, not the flash one. I don't know, some PMI reading, but it was an update. It wasn't the like an original.
Yeah,
reading.
the big one's still coming. The big one's at 10. So, and we've got the ES pointing down and the NASDAQ pointing up. So that's cool, guys. That's cool. Thanks for giving us a really good play on a Monday morning.
On the day you told us they were twins.
Fraternal twins. They're not identical. They have their own opinions, and I don't even see a good catch-up trade yet either, but I would still, if they could both move lower and kind of tag some of those levels I was looking at least the 50 level on ES, like the 5650. That would be breaking these lows, but we'll see.
So Barbie, on a morning like we're experiencing now, where you've got a NQ and ES diverging, moving in opposite directions, can you show us what like maybe like GLD looks like?
Yeah. I was seeing if I saw anything else. The problem is all the indexes are kind of tied together. So we talked about crude. Crude, I was kind of looking for this midpoint of this gap, which is exactly what it got. Anyway, let's take a look at gold. So here's the hourly. Why am I losing my voice on a Monday morning already? All right, here's gold. Where are our gold traders? Because y'all should be feeling pretty good, at least if you're holding it up here. We've got a bull flag on gold that's breaking out right now. That's kind of nice. Yeah, gold kind of already made its move today. Let's see what could come next. I'm looking at my other chart over here because there was a retest here. That was kind of a nice little move. But we're not at the all-time highs yet. So we've got some more levels we could look at. When I see something like this, I just kind of create a zone and expect price to slow down, but the top of it's going to be kind of that target. 33.62 or so. I see chat encouraging likes, and y'all rock, by the way. We've got chat hyping us up now. We don't even have to do it all. Chat's doing it for us.
Amazing. See, put me out of a job, but that's okay.
They're trying. They're trying to push you out here.
That's fine.
Yes, I love this gold move. We kind of already got one. So on crude, we kind of got that gap fill. I would be interested to see. Oh, we did kind of tag that level too. Not quite though. We've got these wicks we can target on crude yet, and then potentially the top of that gap. But just know that they are trying to bring the price of crude down. So that might be a like gap and drop kind of play.
What do you mean by that? Like are you talking about like the OPEC news, or are you talking about, okay.
Yeah, so basically the major players in OPEC, like the Saudis and everybody, whoever controls the oil controls the price of oil, because it's very, very based on supply and demand. And if you want to screw somebody whose income is on oil, you just drop the price of it. So
Yep.
that's
the
what's going on.
headline news on oil too is that they're looking to add I think another 400,000 barrels per day of production.
Yeah, they're going to do it all year. They're really sticking it to they're sticking it to Russia. So much geopolitical drama. Who would have thought? I mean, we were so focused on American news forever because of COVID, and then we had all of the fund rates and all the Fed rate. That was the drama for a good year and a half there. So we were really, really focused on just what's going on locally.
Mm-hmm.
But we're definitely having to pay more attention to global news this year. Well, last year too. So starting with the but even before the trade wars, we had all the Ukraine stuff. And I think it became apparent really quickly that what we were being fed on Ukraine was just a very small bit of the truth and not the full big picture. So we just keep rotating on to the next thing, but it's definitely more worldwide and global this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes it a little bit more complicated. I'm not used to paying attention to like the Canadian data and the European data, but I've added it to my news feed to be paying attention to.
Really? Okay. Like tier 1 level news out of those geographies?
Yeah, I turned it on for so I turned on worldwide, really. I just got one from Mexico. It wasn't a top tier one, but yeah, I wouldn't normally be watching news out of Mexico. This is Mexican economic minister says Mexico is going to remove 100 steel mills or 1,000 steel mills.
They're gonna what?
They're going to it just jumped. Sorry, 1,000. They're going to remove 1,000 steel mills from a list of approved importers. So this is more like trade stuff.
Got it. Okay.
I have to pay attention to all the trade wars to really understand what's going on.
Yes.
I'm watching this a little bit too here. Do you see this? We got VIX finally starting to move up, and the index is finally starting to kind of. It's when I start getting these correlations that I start paying more attention. So, sorry to interrupt you.
No, I was just gonna ask you to look at gold for a second.
Yeah, what you looking at on gold?
I'm asking you what you're looking at on gold.
Well, for today, gold is broken out. What's time frame do I have on over here? This is the hourly. It's easy to see this breakout. So we had this last week, this high level, and breaking that high level is just like a classic breakout move to head up to that next swing high on the hourly. Like, how beautiful was that move? Let me see. Let me draw it better so y'all can see it. Well, it'd really be more of a consolidation, but we have the box lower down there, and then we have the box higher up here. So this would be, I have it colored as a gap, which I can't handle. Let me change it. So I would say that this is the range that I want to break out of, and it got the test, came back down, and then is just charging right out. So when I have a breakout of a range like this, I just look left for my targets, and this high was the first obvious target. So we did have a nice move on gold. Because it's so extended, I was looking at my quants too. It's extended above the quants. It's just getting a little bit more dangerous to play here. So then you can start kind of looking for the retracements. So on this move, if we just take a simple little fib, if this move does retrace, I would think it would be down around here, probably around the 3,300, maybe a little bit less. I would look for those golden pocket retracements and kind of zero in on that midpoint, which hopefully these colors are okay for streaming. I changed my background colors and it screws up my chart colors, but the yellow ones and the orange one here is the one that I'm really focused on. And so that's why I pulled out 3296.6. And since there's a whole number right above that at 3,300, that's kind of, if we get a retracement to rebuy, that's the area that I would be looking for it. Because yeah, we already got a really nice move out of that. So I'm not going to FOMO into a long when price has made this nice move and then it's slowing down, coming into resistance. That's one way I kind of look at the market, as if I'm coming to a play late. If the play has already happened, that's where I would be FOMOing in. So that's why I would wait for the next one if I see a play that has already happened. I was looking for. I'm glancing up at everything else again too, and it's still not there. ES did get into the 50s, but It's probably going to be one of those days where our opening range bounces. Look at how ugly these wicks are, though. So what I mean by bouncing the opening range is we've got the high. This is 5 minutes, so it's a 15-minute opening range. We're going to use the first 3 candles. There's the high and the low of it. So if we're going to have a rangy session, we have 4 minutes or 5 minutes left until news. But that's why I would expect just kind of stay into this box until we get there. And the same thing's happening over on NASDAQ. It's just in a little bit different part of the box. Hopefully at 10 o'clock when we get this PMI data, everything will kind of sync back up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an A+ setup for me if the markets aren't synced.
All right. I'd like to make a call to arms.
Let's do it.
Say it again.
Do you have some good news for us there, Luke?
I will in about a minute. Before that, I need to see a few more likes, a few more shares on the stream, and then I promise you I will be delivering 100 of you out there some free resets, and it might even be able to do it again or a third time. Okay? How's that?
If they're being good.
If they're being good, which the chat is being very good and very constructive today. The comments are good. It's a little bit less spastastic on a Monday, it seems.
Yeah, a little bit. That's okay. You just need chat to bring the energy to get the free accounts going here, right?
Yes, exactly. I'd also like to welcome a very special guest onto our stream. This is a face that you all have not seen before, but has been with us since day one. Today is our 15th episode, by the way. So I would like to welcome Burke onto the stream. He's going to be ready to join us in just a minute here. But he is one of the folks that makes MyFundedFutures run, the prop firm that you've grown to love, that you trust to be transparent, trustworthy, have these clear, objective rules, pathways to live, the fastest payouts on the market. He is one of the folks who makes it all happen. And so he's going to be joining us in just a little bit here as well. How's that, Barbie?
I love it.
You love it?
Let's do it. Bring him out from behind the scenes.
All right. Well, we have him joining us. Should we do a little giveaway, a little freebie?
Let's do it. Let's get everybody some accounts before the data.
All right. I suppose we should do so. All of you out there, this is for 100 free resets. Have your fingers ready. The rules, as we say every single time, are that you must be a subscriber on this channel in order to be eligible to win. If you want to get 100 resets, you must be a subscriber on this channel in order to be eligible to win. Code is going on the screen now. 100 of you are winning free resets. GC 100, Golf Charlie 100, GC 100. That is the first round of resets. Go there, grab them. If you got it, you were a big winner with us today. Put it in the chat. Encourage your fellow community members that they could be up next. I want to see everyone who got it flying in there. Again, GC 100. Code is live. It is on your screen now. And I think that we got another one rolling around right around 10:30 a.m. Okay. How's that? Oh, look at all these people who got it, Barbie.
I love that.
Woo! Congratulations. And again, thank you all for being you. I'm going to ask, run the like count up. How many likes are we at, chat? Again, I can't see it on the YouTube studio view, so I got to ask you, how many likes are we at? If you have not yet posted it in your Discords on this Wild Monday, let's get it in there. Again, we are running this show for an extra hour of content today. So we want to get all that
extra likes for the extra hour.
Yeah. 100 extra likes for the extra hour. I like it. All right. And I'd like to welcome Burke on to our stream as well. You might have some hot trades for you, Barbie.
All right. I like
Is that
hot
okay?
trades.
And
Yeah.
we're just about to hit 10 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. It's a big old bullish spike. This is what I'm always telling people. The numbers don't matter. The reaction does, because we get the reaction before we get the numbers. And we did not get down to my buy spot, but that's okay.
Wait, say that again. Give us the level on the buy spot.
On ES, I was looking for 56.50 or 56.30. We got into the 50s, but not quite where I was looking. We have the VIX moving lower now, and we've broken out of that 15-minute orb on that data. So we'll have to see if this holds now. Okay, we got the data coming in. It came in at 51.6, and they are expecting 50.2. The previous was 50.8, so we are higher than expected. And so this is a little interesting though, because that's actually good for the dollar. When the PMI comes in higher than expectations, the dollar moves up, which usually sends the indexes down. But we're a little more complicated this year because of the geopolitics. That's a whole thing.
God, it's still going.
Yeah, I'm just watching this here right now since I didn't get my buy on it.
Is anybody long? If you're long, put a quick one in the chat. I want to see if anybody's
Especially,
long right now.
Or if you were long and you've taken profits, that counts too.
How's it going, folks?
Woohoo!
I finally arrived. Just one NQ popped, right?
Yeah. Are you in on it? I was looking at something else and did not get in.
I was anticipating a pop before 10 a.m. actually, but no, I didn't take the long. I'm looking for it though.
My little hindsight moment here, I'll have to go back and study this, is I put that orb up on the chart, and man, buying the bottom of that orb would have been gorgeous. This is actually something I'm studying. That's why it's driving me crazy right now. I've been studying the opening range breakouts, and when we're ranging, they make for really good reversal levels. So imagine if I had been smart enough to buy that one just now.
But here's the thing though, do you ever execute before the news? It's always scary.
I will sometimes, usually just on a prop account or something. Yeah, sometimes. If I have, not often. And the part of the reason I wasn't super into it today is it's a Monday. But I had one, I think it was last week, either last week or the week before. I just had vibes all over it, and I was like, I won't feel bad if I get stopped out on this one. I think this is going to be good, so I went for it.
And Bert, you've been with us since day one on this stream, is that right?
Yes, I'm the behind the scenes guy. I'm the guy who powers the reset guy, Luke, with the codes, resets, giveaways, and all that.
And will you introduce yourself a bit more, Bert, and your some of your trading experience?
Yes. So I've been a day trader basically pretty much since, I would say, 2018. But I really got into trading with, GME, AMC, that kind of saga back in COVID times. And then switched to futures from options, actually, because options I hated it. I hated the Greeks, theta, gamma, all that stuff. So when I found futures, I was like, why haven't I traded this before instead of doing theta? Because it's the same thing minus theta, right? So I got into futures back in 2020 or 2021 and never looked back. And some of you folks actually might know me from social media. I used to go as Thor on Twitter. Not anymore since I'm with MyFundedFutures for a while. But if you know me,
you can't be Thor at MyFundedFutures.
Oh, nah. Matt actually wanted to keep that, but I was like, no, that's not professional.
How are you going to drop the hammer?
I have Fabio to drop the hammer for me in Discord, especially. So we're all good. Yeah.
Barbie, it looks like we've given up a lot of this candle.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
wicked.
Well, that happens a lot on data. That's why you can't get excited and enter FOMO on data candles. They're the absolute worst candles to FOMO into. Either you're in already or you wait. So let's
How
see if
long
we
do you
still get
wait?
my spot. I don't have a set time, but I'm gonna watch the candles and see when things just either calm down or get to a point where I have an entry. This wick is annoying. So that's the hard thing about data is a lot of the times I'm going to base, like if I was going to go short, I might want to put my stop loss on that wick. And so it's going to make it pretty hard to go short unless we're dropping down below some pre-market level. And then on the long side too, normally I'm looking to break highs, and that's annoying with that little wick there. So sometimes the morning session just doesn't really jive with my trading plan, and that's okay. But I'm going to keep watching to see if we break this high. I did have another spot. I said 56.80 was another spot that I was looking. So that was kind of my first little target. So that's another one I can watch to see if we get a breakout up there. The thing is, the breakouts are going to be less likely today because we have FOMC on Wednesday. But that's okay. I will say, when the charts are harder for me to see, then that's a good sign that I don't need to be trying to forcing a button push too.
I like that. Another thing about that question, Luke, is I like to wait for at least one 15-minute candle when it wicks like this.
Okay.
Because usually it's not going to move around. So I would rather wait for 15 minutes. And 15 minutes is the main reason I wait for 15 minutes, basically because I get my key levels through that time frame. So I keep it at that time frame, basically. But yeah, FOMC weeks, they're my least favorite weeks. I hate trading on FOMC weeks.
They're
tend
trickier,
not to.
And then knowing that they're trickier, I second guess myself more.
Yes, that's the thing. Like in terms of psychology of day trading, if you don't trust your judgment and your analysis, there's no reason to take the trade, right? Because you're not going to let it go. You're not going to wait for your target. You're going to be, emotional, impulsive. So why execute, right? That's a challenge, like everyday challenge though, as a day trader at the same time, because sometimes we're not self-aware in a way to understand our thought process, if that makes sense.
I am watching how we're holding the open though, which is definitely a bullish move. The tricky part is just, so the way I look at it is I have to have my entries that are in my playbook, and they have to have the right risk to reward on them. And so that's what makes it hard when we have extra wicks in the morning like this. So otherwise it's more discretionary and you're playing off of vibes a little bit, which I will do a little bit. I'll trade on vibes a little bit, but we got choppy vibes too right now. Do you use the VIX a lot, Bert?
I don't actually, no. Never. I only look at ES and NQ just for divergences and trade NQ, to be honest. I try to trade crude.
I think the more simple you can go, the better. So I like that.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I tried to trade crude oil 2 years ago or so, and I got chopped so much. Now that I know that fact, I never go back from NASDAQ, because NASDAQ is just like so fast. Sometimes I have trades like 30-second long, and that's what I need. I don't need to look at the charts the whole day. I don't want to be feeling the FOMO of getting into a trade, making money or something like that. So I just execute. If it's a winner, it's a winner. If it's a loss, it's a loss. I just move on and call it a day.
That is one of the really nice things about NASDAQ. But then on the flip side, we get people saying, well, I paper handed that because I didn't hold it through the whole move. So how do you deal with that? Do you just know that that's what you're going for, and so you're happy with it, or do you still get
personally
that?
What I like to do is I like to execute a couple of contracts, either on micros or mini, depending on what I have in the account, and I like to take partials rather aggressively, so I don't have to worry about the trade anymore. It's risk-free from there on, and I let it go.
She'll take the partials to get happy and get into profit, and then leave a runner to pick up the rest of that?
Just make the lunch money.
Hopefully. Yeah. Okay. That's kind of how I like to look at it too. I like to, well, I always say it has to be a majority, and people say, so, 2 out of 3, and I'm like, at least probably 3 out of 4, but I want to take a majority off so that it's really hard or impossible, would be even better, for it to go back into the red.
Yep. And I've been there when I started trading in the first place. I used to have like winners. I opened in New York with a winner, and then I kept trading the whole day. And I used to end up in red or blown accounts, which is the worst thing you can do as a day trader. Worst thing. If you make $50, just be it. Just call it a day. And there's always more tomorrow if you can just be patient.
So has that gotten easier over time for you?
Yes, 100%. Because it's the fact that I blew so many accounts that I had to reevaluate what I was doing wrong, and that was the outcome. I was over trading basically. And now when I trade, like if I pull up my weekly or monthly dashboard or something, you'll see like on a daily basis, I don't take more than 2 trades. And 2 trades is mainly because I scale into winners.
Yeah.
Not every day though. Like this week, I would never scale in just because it's FOMC, but it's just like, depends on the conditions and the news driver and whatnot. But this volatility is crazy. So I'm not scaling in this crazy volatility since Trump came over. And the tariffs and all that kind of stuff, because you get 1 minute candle, 100 points, 200 points. It's just insane to me. And we have almost like 2,000 points ranges on a daily basis on NASDAQ, which is wild.
That's why I haven't been as discouraged by these smaller moves on these flat days, though, at the same time, because even if we end up ranging, we'll end up ranging with such a nice wide range that we can still pick up some little scraps in there.
Yes.
That's all I need. Just need some scraps.
Just need some scraps. Just need the lunch money is all.
I mean, that really is what we're doing as retail day traders, is we're picking up scraps from the big funds.
100%.
So. And Burke, will you go ahead and share your screen and show us what you're looking at today?
Oh yeah, sure. Let's do that here. Give me 1 second. All right, so I'm looking at NASDAQ right now. Let me zoom out. All right, so I'm looking at NASDAQ right now. Basically, like, Barbie, by the way, just so you know, I trade ICT concepts.
No.
So whenever I mention the fair value gaps or something like that, just don't get mad at me.
They're called imbalances, but that's fine.
Okay, I'll call it imbalances.
No, you can call it fair. You can call it fair value gap. I'm just giving you crap.
All right, so the thing I'm looking at is basically because we extended to the upside through the past 2 weeks or so. I actually want to target more buy side, so I have a bullish bias on the short term at least, and depending on the reaction at the buy side, I might switch bias or just target the yearly highs or something like that. But for today, for the sake of day trading, the thing I'm looking at is I tend to look at the previous expansion ranges and its midpoint, basically the 50% of that range. And I look for reversal patterns below 50% when I'm bullish, and when I'm bearish, vice versa. I look for reversal patterns above the 50%. So today, before market open, we traded below the 50% of that previous range from Friday, and we got some sort of a divergence in between ES and NASDAQ. So basically, as far as I remember, let me double check that actually. Oh yeah, so we had that divergence right here at 9:30, which is what we call bullish divergence. So that's how I got my date bias for today, which made me lean more towards bull side, and I would like to target Friday's high. Right now, what I'm looking at is basically, to answer your question, I'm waiting for a breakout about that 50% of the previous range, maybe retest, and that'll be my setup. Right now, there's no execution for me, but if we can break out, then I'll consider going longs. and targeting Friday's high.
Okay.
So speaking of which, like when you look at my charts, I don't have too many stuff going on. I like to keep it simple. I like to keep it clean. And I use maybe like one line with 50% range and one rectangle or something like that. So I like to keep it clean, simple. And every day when I wake up, when I pull up the charts, the first thing I do is I click this bin icon on TradingView and just remove all the drawings, and I go from scratch again.
And so when do you form your bias? You, sir, do not have a watermark for us. What candles are we looking at?
This is a 15-minute time frame on NASDAQ. I can pull out the watermark. There you go.
Oh, you look at that. Beautiful.
There you go. Yeah, so 15-minute time frame on NASDAQ.
Okay. And so when did you form your bias then? Like, would that have been around 9 a.m. Eastern or 8:30 or something?
Honestly, I didn't have a bias until this divergence happened. I was flat. But in general, the way I see things in the market is 100% based on the time frames. And this comes from my stock options background. The thing I do is if I want to establish a daily bias, I get that from the 15-minute time frame. If there's something going on the 15-minute time frame, that is going to be my daily bias. If not, if I don't see anything, I'm flat. I don't even look at the markets the whole day. And that bias has to be formed by 10 a.m. or 10:15 a.m. Otherwise, I just let it go and call it a day. And the second thing is, since I was trading stock options, I used to trade weekly call options or put options on SPY. For that kind of trade, I used to look at 4-hour time frame, and that used to give me basically 4-hour time frame gives me the weekly bias. I can project where the weekly candle might close for the whole week. Not on FOMC days though, or weeks though. It's, I try to avoid anticipating FOMCs.
This is going back to kind of what you were, this is like from a few minutes ago, but I'm still thinking about it. You saw the divergence on NASDAQ and ES and saw it as bullish. And I'm wondering why if ES was moving lower and NASDAQ was moving higher, why does your bias go towards the bullish side?
It has to do with the previous range. So when we get that divergence in a discount area, which is below the 50% of the previous range, it gives me that anticipation, basically, if that makes sense. This is the first, very first sign that price wants to go higher for me. If it happens in the discount though, if it happened above the 50%, then I might reevaluate my thought process on that. So simply put, I don't just rely on the divergence as is. It's just the first.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, because you can't, right? Like you see a divergence, then you have to say which one's right, which one's wrong. So I was just wondering how you deal with that, because I'll deal with kind of my analysis, thinking of are we more towards the levels I wanted to buy or sell, but you're basically doing the same thing. So
yeah,
different way of looking at kind of the same thing.
Another thing I do with the divergences is because it is the very first signal for me. Sometimes I like to execute as it forms. So that's why I anticipate the divergence and I execute on it. And the reason behind that is because it is the lowest risk trade, because you'll get the smallest stop loss. So I trust the divergence. For example, the divergence confirmed here. I executed long on the very next candle and I put my stop loss below that as the divergence. So this is the lowest amount of risk you can get. But in order for me to do that, I need to have way more confidence. So it can't be just like, oh, we have an SMT divergence in discount. This is bullish. Let's execute. No, it's not like that. I look at the previous candles and I look at clean levels, sort of like support and resistance or whatever you call it, like clean highs, clean lows, whatever the case is. So today, for example, I looked at that and we don't have clean highs here or here. So I didn't trust or I didn't rely on that S&T divergence to execute a trade, if that makes sense.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people just talk about that like catch-up trade or divergence trade, and it's interesting to see. You always have to have some sort of context to put it in, and I like your thought process.
100%.
Even if it's ICT inspired.
I am Doggo. I always tell people that like we all look at the same charts, right? We all have different analysis, different levels, different strategies. But for me, the strategy itself doesn't really matter because we all internalize different things, right? Like in a moment, Ash will be here. He's another ICT trader, but with the same strategy, we might be seeing something different, completely different, because we have our own internalization of the candles itself, or the price rather. So whatever works, folks.
All right. Can I interrupt for a second?
Of course.
Can I give the people what they want, Barbie?
Yes, you may.
I may? All right.
If you've got the codes, you better share them. I'm coming for you.
As Burke alluded to, we're going to have Ash Trades joining us in just a little bit here. Let's see, what time is it? In about 9 minutes, Ash is going to be on and live with us for his first day of streaming with MyFundedTV. It is also Ash's birthday. And so I think we might have a little birthday code to celebrate the new segment, to celebrate the birthday boy. A round of free resets are going to go out. You must be a subscriber on the channel in order to be eligible to win. Code is going on the screen now. Again, 100 of you out there are going to be winning free resets to celebrate our first day with Ash, to celebrate the birthday boy. Happy B-Day is the code. Happy B-Day is the code. 100 of you, it brings the total to 200 people out there watching are getting free resets on a beautiful day like today, celebrating our first day with Ash joining MyFundedTV to celebrate Ash's very big birthday today. Code Happy B-Day is on the screen now.
I see some success.
When is your birthday roughly?
In January, so you don't have to wait.
And what should we do for your birthday month? Should we do like 100 giveaways every day for your birthday month?
Yeah.
Should we still do the 10,000 account, 10,000 subscriber giveaway?
Yes.
We should do that.
And if my account gets to 10,000 too, we can do it for both, right?
All right. What's your account at, Barbie?
I was only at 7,000 something.
All right. How do they find it?
It's Bull Barbie Trading on YouTube, or just search for Bull Barbie, because I see in my stats everyone just searches for Bull Barbie, but it's at Bull Barbie Trading. Bull
Barbie Trading. All right, we're coming into our last several minutes here. Barbie, I'd like to ask to see your screen again, and could you give us some parting thoughts? Give us a little update as to where we are. It's been a number of candles now since we took a look at your screen, but where are we at? And some parting thoughts for the day.
Well, it's still being kind of boring, but that's okay. I did manage to just get a quick little scalp, although it didn't give me very much. Nothing exciting, just kind of bouncing. Well, I'm showing you on NASDAQ. I was actually watching the NASDAQ, but ES is doing the same thing, this little VWAP bounce. So I'm really just watching the same levels. I'll go over to my levels chart here. So I had that target there at 56.80 on ES that we did hit. So if we keep rallying, I do have a quant up here in the 90s, 56.95 or so. But I was really looking for that 5,700 up to 57.07. If you're familiar with my magnet levels, I haven't really gone over those yet, but I do have a magnet level up there at 57.07. We are probably going to hit this before FOMC. That's what the magnet level's there for. And then kind of my big target, if we really get going, was the 57.25 area. But I'm not expecting anything too wild since we've had our big data today, and the big data of the week is still coming on Wednesday. So I'm just looking for small plays. I'm not looking for anything huge. I'm going to be, sometimes we're more actively engaged in trading and sometimes we're more actively engaged in planning. And that's where I'm going to be, is planning.
Barbie, I've always wondered how or where do you get your quant levels?
Well, it's a mathematical formula that I'm not going to tell you, but
Okay.
so I have them programmed into TradingView and they're called magic levels. If you go to my website, you can get more information. Let me turn off these other levels for a second. So the blue ones here are the magic levels and they're a proprietary calculation. I actually made these a couple years ago. I just needed something I could throw on charts to get some easy levels and they work really, really well. It doesn't get every high and low, but I can easily mark the high and lows. And so these are statistically the most likely places that price will find support and resistance calculated mathematically. So yeah, bullbarbie.com, all the Trading Ranch members get all of my indicators. So that includes this one. And this one's Pine Script. I also have it on NinjaTrader. I prefer developing on NinjaTrader, but I put it on TradingView because I use TradingView too.
Barbie, I love the name of your community, by the way.
Thank you.
I think it's very authentic.
Well, originally there was a group of moderators and they all kind of went separate ways. And so I was like, well, if it's just me, then it's going to be Trading Ranch because that's where we are. So if y'all are coming from me, it's Trading Ranch.
All right, Burke.
Yes,
Can
sir.
we take another look at your screen and can you give us some final thoughts for the day?
Of course.
And then again, folks, stay tuned. So we have the birthday boy coming.
So I'm still waiting for that breakout, to be honest with you. Until then, it could just like chop around, stay in the range. I don't think it's going to go for the lows today or make a new low today. But the tricky part of this all is the timing of the market. Like there is literally no way, at least I haven't figured it out, no way to time the market. So if I anticipate this breakout, I don't know when it's going to happen. It might come at 2 p.m. or even like 3:50 p.m. in doing power hours. So, but for now, since it's still holding up and not violating the previous candles, I'm still thinking bullish, and I think it's going to pop above that 50% level at some point later today. And if so, I'll set the alert here and try to execute as close as possible to that 50% of that previous range from Friday. Looking for a new high of the day, though, overall.
That would be nice.
All right. Burke, final question for you.
Yes.
What are you excited to hear about from Ash, the birthday boy?
The birthday boy. I really wanna get into a unicorn a lot more. I know. So it's his strategy, basically, Luke.
Okay.
I kind of know what it is, but I want to see and get to know like how he internalized the unicorn pattern. Basically, that's what I would like to see or know, basically. Because I think it's a very valuable or powerful setup, but it's always interesting to see what people like others or how others are internalizing the price. It always surprises me and makes me happy.
Yeah,
there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat.
100%.
I always love it when ideas kind of have the same foundation and kind of give me some extra little tools that I can add on. I want to learn the unicorn stuff too. I'm ready for it.
It sounds awesome though, isn't it, Barbie? The name of it is.
I love the name.
But it came from ICT, just so you know.
Well, it didn't come from Crazy Mike.
But Barbie likes to take ICT concepts and then just give them new names, from what I can tell.
That's what I do. I take all of because he's the algo, so I take all of his names because they're the originals, and I give them new names. Just kidding.
All right.
ICT did not invent the unicorn. You don't get credit for that one.
All right,
he calls me a cat lady, so
he does.
Yeah, he calls me a cat lady. Okay. Tells me to get back in the kitchen.
You do own cats.
I do have cats. I have a farm. If I didn't have cats, I would have a lot more mice. The Discord knows what I do with the rats around here, so watch out.
All right, folks. That is bringing our first segment of the day to an end. Again, our first segment of the day, because today is day one of us having a second segment that we are about to dive into. Can I get a W Barbie, a W Burke in the chat, please?
And W Luke.
Yeah, and a W Luke.
Because resets and free accounts wouldn't have, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't up to you, Luke.
Mm-hmm. And we may get some live trading in this next segment here. Just a little tease. But I would like
to move. Tell the market to do things.
All right. Yeah. Okay. If we have the right setups. If not today, then tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. But it's coming, people. I promise you that. More giveaways are coming. I promise you that. But I would like to welcome Ash Trades onto the stream today. Mr. Birthday Boy, Mr. Unicorn himself. Could we get him pulled up with us?
Dun, dun, dun.
Ash, what is going on?
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Is this how you imagine celebrating?
It actually is, considering we probably spend every day doing this. So just another normal day for us.
Awesome. And Ash, could you give us a little bit of a preview as to what you're going to be diving into today?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. If anybody didn't hear already, I will be doing the 10:30 to 11:30 segment here Monday through Friday. So what I would like to do is talk charts, talk trades, more educational, definitely a little bit of entertainment as well. I would like to show everybody, what it is to be day trading. Obviously, everybody here on the channel already knows what they're doing. I would like to show everybody what I'm doing. So pretty much, I've been publicly documenting all of my trading across social medias. I would like to also do that here. So just as a little opening statement, I would like to make sure that everybody knows a little risk disclaimer that, when I'm here trading, I'm assuming my own risk, just like you should be assuming your own risk. So I'm very okay with publicly trading, showing you the trades I take. Then we can walk through it and talk about the logic, the decision making, all of the kind of educational elements that go into it. But with that being said, everybody has to understand that they take ownership of their own risk. This is not some sort of signal service, and I do not take responsibility of your risk. I'll gladly show you my trades live, real time, and I think that'll be a great way for anybody that's looking to get into trading, or anybody that has been trading can relate to these trades, talk about the trades, and learn about them.
Awesome. Well, Ash, I'm going to say goodbye to our good friends, Barbie and Burke. And can we get started with taking a look at your chart?
Absolutely.
All right. Almost. We're getting there. You have a very dark chart. There it is. All right.
There we go.
All right. Just give us the background. What asset are we looking at? How big are the candles? All that.
Yep. So myself and my communities, we focus on the indices, specifically NQ and ES. You could also see my watch list over here. Very small watch list. There's a reason behind that. In my opinion, less is more. I don't want to fall into information overload. So I also just need to give another quick comment on this. This was a trade that's already been completed. So anybody that is watching, don't think that this trade is currently happening. I want to walk through this trade because this is the trade we took this morning. But just understand that we're no longer currently entering this trade. It's already played out here with the 10 a.m. news. So just a quick side note so that everybody understands what we're looking at. For me and my communities, we like to focus on NQ and ES. They are, the major markets. So we trade NQ the most just because of the way it moves. It has the volatility that we're looking for, along with, MyFundedFutures being a futures-based prop firm. So yes, you can trade, the currencies. Once again, less is more for me. I like to just focus on one or two assets, and those being NQ and ES.
Awesome. And talk us through the thinking a little bit. Again, this is we're all very new to you and excited to have you here, but just talk us through, okay, we got the chart, how are you approaching a day like today in general, etc.
Yeah, so throughout the time being here, we're going to go through the inner workings of how these trades occur, how to develop these game plans, how to execute them, the entire risk management that goes behind them. But there's a lot to be said for each part of the game plan. So we have a lot of time together. We will dive deeper into the topics as the time goes on. But here's a quick overview of the current position. Let's get out here on the higher time frames. So first things first is time is our most important element. Stock market opens at 9:30. The public is allowed to start participating at 9:30. So 9:30 is when we like to focus on trading. Okay, so time is our most important element. That is the first thing that we focus on for trading. The next thing with that comes the economic calendar. So they spoke about it earlier. We had a 10 a.m. news driver. So along with 9:30, we like to get on the economic calendar, make sure that we understand when the news drivers occur, because news drivers is volatility. We don't specifically look at the data. The data, this is just my opinion, but the data doesn't mean much in terms of direction for price. For us, data is just volatility. So, and that's why we look at the data, because we need to know when that volatility is going to enter the market. We need to be aware of that for our risk management. So in terms of a game plan, this is what it looks like every single day. It starts with time, as we just went over time.
That is so small.
Yeah.
It is the size for ants, I think. All right, we got it.
So we start with time. Time is our most important element. Then we go into bias or draw and liquidity. For me, we get on the higher time frames. I'm looking at imbalances or swing points. All right, so I'll just go into that shortly and briefly. Whatever you call these things, it doesn't really matter to me. FVG, imbalance, whatever. There's millions of different names for it at this point, but we could walk through it. So, for example, this is a bullish imbalance, right? We, on Friday, made a nice move higher, very decisively and energetically. It was in one direction. It was very decisive. So for that reason, when we have this type of imbalance, that produces a bias. So bullish imbalances provides a bullish bias, just like bearish imbalances would provide a bearish bias. So seeing that today, we were starting the day inside of a 4-hour imbalance, that gave us a bullish bias, right? So now let's create the game plan. Starting with New York Open, we talked about time. Then we also talked about the 10 a.m. news driver. Now we've made it to a bias, which for me, looking at a bullish bias because of the bullish imbalance. Next comes the entry function. Okay, so before we get to the entry function, let's just talk about draws on liquidity as well, because it's bias and draw on liquidity. Essentially, they mean the same thing. It's just your opinion of where price is moving to. Okay, so for me, those types of areas are equal highs and equal lows. Okay, so for me, seeing this here, this looks like an area that price can move to. And it did a very nice job going right to it. But in terms of draws on liquidity, we're looking at equal highs or equal lows. They could be relative equal highs or equal lows. The important thing is right here. So notice the difference here. In this area, price had taken out the high. Okay, so I would not call this an equal high. I would not call this a relative equal high. Price did, in fact, go above the initial high compared to this area here. Okay, price did not go above this high here. So when looking at equal highs or equal lows, specifically, I want the left side to be the highest high, right? So if you're looking at this swing point here, the left side was the higher high. This to me is an equal high or an equal low, right? It's the same exact thing for equal lows. You would want the left side to be the lower low. And now this to me is what a draw on liquidity is. Okay, price is going to reach for this type of area, okay, because it looks like there's liquidity above here. Okay, so first two things, time, bias, or draw on liquidity. In my opinion, bias and draw on liquidity mean the same thing. So, oh, give me 2 seconds here. Got to get back over to the screen. Okay, so in terms of bias, we had a bullish bias because of the bullish imbalance. Then we had a draw on liquidity because of the relative equal highs there. I'll just abbreviate that, equal highs, right? So it looked like price needed to reach to this area here. Okay. So now we're kind of developing logic or a game plan to look for those higher prices. But then we need to understand how to operate. Okay, we need to understand how to actually engage with the marketplace. And that's where an entry function comes in for me. Okay. For me, I use the unicorn model. You know, it's a funny name just because of a random live stream that happened. Somebody else had mentioned this type of pattern being a unicorn-like pattern. So for that reason, we call it the unicorn model. It was just kind of a funny way of going about it. But nonetheless, this is what a unicorn entry function would be. So for a bullish entry function, you're looking at a swing low, you're looking at a swing high, then a new low, and a new high. Okay, so this is a bullish entry function for myself. And these all need to be swing points. Okay, swing low, swing high, new low, new high. Okay, once price goes through the initial swing high, so at this moment in time over here, this is when it becomes an entry function. Okay, so now let me, instead of just drawing this on the chart, let me go to the price action so you can see what I'm referencing. Right, you get a same thing that I was just talking about, a swing low, a swing high, a new low, then a new high. Okay, and when it does that, the next thing that I would want to see is that it displaces through that area. Again, if I'm using any kind of terminology that doesn't resonate with you, there's 100 different ways to say it at this point. So all I'm referring to here is a energetic and decisive move higher, right? Price clearly and decisively started moving higher here. This looks like displacement. or if you want to use, an imbalance FVG, again, whatever you want to call it, you can see that during this leg higher, we did have FVGs in here during the displacement higher. Okay, so I want to see this pattern occur right here. Swing low, swing high, new low, new high. And when that's occurring, I want to see displacement with it. Okay, so you get the FVG right in here. Give me 2 more seconds, trying to get this line out of here. There we go. You can see the FVG right in here during the displacement higher. So essentially the entire model is time being first, bias or withdrawal on liquidity being second, then entry function being third. Okay. If these things occur, great. Then you can assume some risk. And I'm going to make the statement one more time. So anybody that's watching, you have to understand when I'm doing this live in front of everyone, you are to assume your own risk. Okay. And that's what it is to be a risk manager. You have to understand what you're willing to risk, and you have to allow the probabilities to play out. Okay. Now that the game plan has been completed, that's when I would be willing to assume some risk. So when I first joined the stream, you saw this here. Put it back on there for everyone. All right, because I had a bias from the 4-hour imbalance. So I went into the market today looking for a long. Then, understanding that I was only looking to operate at New York Open, I went and looked for the entry function that I use. Right, and you get it right here. So you get the swing low, you get the swing high, you get the new low, then you get the new high. It's the same thing I was drawing earlier. And then you also have the imbalance with it, right? Here's an imbalance here during that leg higher. Okay, so for me, this is how I engage with the marketplace. Being able to have a game plan, then to execute that game plan using justifications to my actions. And those are the things that we are going to go over during my time here with everyone. We're going to talk about the logic and the decision-making that goes into these game plans. Okay, so for example, here's one of the logics, and Burke was talking about this during his segment as well. So you're going to, find a lot of similarities. Once again, I don't exactly subscribe to a, certain way of looking at the market. I think, you can trade the market however you want to trade the market. I think there's thousands and thousands of ways to trade the market. So I don't think there is a right or a wrong. I think you end the day red or green. And that's all it comes down to. You're either red or green at the end of the day. And however you chose to get to that point is fine. Just make sure that you manage your risk and that you understand that you take complete ownership of it. Nobody else should be clicking the buttons for you. Nobody else should be making those decisions for you. I would rather take extreme ownership in that, in my own abilities to engage with the marketplace. So as we're walking through this, you will definitely see live trades from me. You'll see the commentary from me. We'll talk about education and the reason why I'm making these decisions. So please do feel free to ask any questions. When we have Q&A time, we'll definitely go through the comments and we'll engage with the community. You do also have to understand that when I'm managing my risk, my attention is on my risk. Okay, so if I miss any comments, if you keep putting your comment in the section because I didn't see it yet, it's because I'm managing my risk, and you should be too. Okay, so
Ash, do you mind if I grab a couple questions out of the chat?
Absolutely.
One, it's lovely having you here. I'll just keep reminding you that. Two,
Thank
happy
you.
birthday, sir. Three, so a couple of questions come in about position sizing. On days with more volatility, less volatility, does that impact the number of contracts that you're taking on? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so for me, the market determines the entry, the market determines the stop. So in my opinion, your invalidation should be presented by the market. Okay, so I always enter at the beginning of, we call it a breaker block. So a breaker block plus an FEG is what the unicorn model is. I always enter at the beginning of the breaker block. I have a stop loss at the low. So that's what I mean in terms of the market determining the entry, the market determining the stop. What you determine as a risk manager is your position size, right? So you can see here that this position would have required 50.75 points. We'll just say 50 to make a round number, right? So one contract of NQ, every time it moves 1 point, that changes your P&L by $20, right? So 20 times 50, now you're looking at $1,000 for a stop loss, right? So this is where you as a risk manager comes in and understands what account you're using, right? Because if you're using a 50K account and you only have $1,000 of drawdown left, are you willing to use all of that drawdown on one position? Yes or no? That's a you decision to make. That's you as a risk manager to determine if that's okay for you. In my opinion, you need to give yourself more than one opportunity. You shouldn't be blowing the account on any given trade. So in my opinion, you should be dividing your drawdown by 10, right? So if $1,000 is too much of risk, get over to the micros, right? You could do these same exact thing on MNQ, right? Instead of it being $20 a point, now it's $2 a point. You could still take the same exact trade, but you can position size correctly for the amount of drawdown that you have. All right. So like if you're in an account that has, you're plus $10,000 in profit and you're willing to risk $1,000 per trade, right? Dividing drawdown by 10, then take one contract of NQ here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then I would assume $1,000 of risk. And then at that point, the next part of that conversation is allowing the probabilities to play out. So everybody has their own way of managing the positions. For me, I accept the risk before, keyword before, the risk is taken. And I'm saying that because I would rather be doing a fixed 1 to 2 risk to reward, right? So this one went just below 1 to 2. This one 1.86. I started telling my community to take profits around 1.7. So it was a little early. It was due to the news and whatnot. In my opinion, when I put the risk on, I've already accepted the risk. So I'm more of a stop loss or take profit type of individual. It either works out or it doesn't. I'm not the type of individual to raise your stop loss above break even once we go into profits.
So I was just going to ask if you use trailing stops, and it sounds like the answer is no.
No trailing stops.
Okay.
I would rather go for a loss or a win. There's a lot of mental and emotional impact that comes with taking risk every single day. So I would rather accept it and understand that I'm going to take this risk. I don't want to be jumping back and forth during the time of in that mental roller coaster. I don't want to, get euphoric when it goes into profits. I don't want to get too fearful. So beforehand, I'm already accepting the risk. I'd rather just either take a loss or take a win. I don't trail the stops.
Awesome. All right, Ash. I had another good one. the nature of the question, basically, I saw this one crop up a couple times as well, is understanding whether a move is like a trend reversal, a continuation of the move. Like, how do you get the conviction when there's some bumpies, which way it's headed?
Yep. So I personally try to look for reversals. In my opinion, they give some of the best risk to reward. Okay. It depends on the time frame that you're trading, right? Because a lot of people can sit here and say that this is a continuation trade, because if you're out here on the higher time frames, we have been moving higher, actually since the last time I was on the show with everyone. So in terms of this being, trend continuation or a reversal, it kind of depends on the time frame that you're trading on, because in terms of the higher time frame, this is a continuation trade. In terms of the lower time frame, I would call this a reversal because, ever since the Sunday open, we had been moving lower all overnight. So it is determined by the time frame, in my opinion. What we'll be doing here on this channel is intraday trading. So I look at the 5 or the 15-minute to take positions. So I would have called this a reversal trade this morning because I deal with intraday trades on the 5 or 15-minute basis. And on that basis, we had been moving lower all overnight. And I would rather be taking reversals because of the clearly identified invalidation, right? So this swing point right here, it's clearly defined, okay? If this is going to be a reversal, price should not go below this low again. So with that being said, there is definitely some mental or emotional control that you have to have, okay? Because it's not easy to see that price has been moving lower all morning. You're going to think that price, it's moving in that direction. Maybe it should just continue to keep moving in that direction, right? So it's kind of a contrarian type of point of view to be able to look for reversals. But I do it because of the risk to reward, right? Because in my opinion, again, this was the draw today, these highs. Price wanted to reach for these highs here. So if we were to have waited, okay, if we were to have waited until after the news, right, we saw that price was turning around the news time. If we were to have gotten in anywhere up here, I still think this is the invalidation, but now look at the risk to reward, right? So the risk to reward is much less if you have to wait to be a part of the trend. Okay, so that's what I mean in terms of the risk to reward being a little bit better. If we had to wait to see the trend to understand that price is moving higher this morning, you'd be looking at more of less than 1 hour to do that. In my opinion, the reversal occurred here, right? Because if we want to talk about some kind of like trend analysis, and that's why I'm calling it a reversal, we were in a downtrend for all of overnight. So we were doing lower highs and lower lows, lower highs and lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, all the way down. The very first time this trend changed, right? If we want to even use like a downtrend, right? It changed here, right there at New York Open. So this is also why you can see why time is so important, right? Of course, we break out of this downtrend that we've been in all overnight at 9:30. In my opinion, time is the most important element. Okay. So seeing that we break out of this downtrend, this is the first moment in time we change the trend and then start moving higher. So that's why I call it a change in the state of delivery. That's how it was first annotated when you first saw it. All right, this right here was the last high of the downtrend before we made a new high, right? So change of trend, whatever you want to call it, break of structure. Again, it doesn't really matter to me what you call it. We're all staring at the same exact information. We're all day trading. So whatever you want to call it, be my guest. And this is also why the model that I trade is the model that I trade, because I'm looking for reversals. I'm looking for that change of trend. When we get that change of trend, I want to see it done with displacement. If that happens, then I would be willing to assume the risk. And if that does not happen, that's when we have to have the mental and emotional intelligence or awareness to not take any trades. Okay, so I guess that will be the next thing that I go into is, again, if you're looking for a signal service, I'm gladly going to be publicly documenting my trades here, but please don't expect for positions to occur every single day. If I'm willing to accept the risk, then I'll take it. But if I'm not willing to accept the risk, then we'll take the time reviewing price action. We'll take the time reviewing some kind of educational segment, but I'm not the type of individual to be taking, 25 trades a day. That's not who I am. In my opinion, less is more, quality over quantity. Okay. So don't expect me to be in a position every single day, every single hour, every single segment. When I am in a position, I'll gladly share it with everybody. But again, you have to take extreme ownership of your own risk. Okay, so I'll hop over to chat. Now, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to throw it in chat and we can go over a couple more questions and comments.
Yeah, and Ash, I'll say your risk management is getting a lot of applause and praise out of the chat. It seems like I see it as like a very mature, efficient way, and the chat seems to see the same. How long did it take you to develop that or reach that maturity in your trading?
I've been doing this close to a decade. Just like everybody else, I've been through the natural progression of every single trader. I've blown many accounts. I've had, many failures. There was many testing of theories to figure out what works best. And, I know a lot of people talk about paper trading. I think that's great and all, but there is some kind of mental or psychological impact of real money. So in my opinion, I've always done it with real money, win or loss. I specifically had been working multiple jobs to assume that risk, right? So in terms of risk management, I had a main source of income, and that always covered the bills. That always made sure there was food in the fridge and whatnot. The lights were always on. And then I had to go out and work a second job for the sole purpose of funding this business. So in terms of risk management, the money was meant to be spent doing this. Mm-hmm. And that helped the mental, that helped the psychology, along with keeping all the lights on, along with staying healthy and, making sure that family and health are the top priorities. So then comes actually paying for these challenges, funding cash accounts and going through the failure process. This is a business where losing is inevitable. You're not going to have a 100% win rate strategy. So you have to understand that as a risk manager, that when you lose, you can't get tilted. When you win, you can't get too euphoric, because both of those situations are going to keep happening over your entire career of trading. Mm-hmm. So, put it this way, in 2023, I had a 49% win rate. In 2024, I had a 60% win rate, just to give some logical numbers. Before that time, I didn't even reach profitability. So it took multiple years to even get to a level of profitability. And when you get to a level of profitability, that doesn't mean you're going to stay there. Just because you were profitable once doesn't mean you're going to be profitable again. Mm-hmm. So assuming that risk is something that you have to do throughout your entire career of trading, and then also having that mental or emotional control to not tilt when you do lose, to not get too euphoric when you do win. And then the last part that I would put into this comment is this is the reason why I don't take 10 trades a day, 20 trades a day, 30 trades a day, because of the long-term health of this business. You know, in my opinion, I want to be doing this until the end of time. So it sounds like burnout, if you ask me, if you were to be sitting here trading, you know, 100 different positions a day. It's going to be hard to replicate that amount of time, focus, energy for the next 20, 30 years. So, you know, I would rather, you know, take one position a day, a couple positions a week, and then understand that there are ways to work on the long-term health of this business by being on the sidelines, by not risking every single day. So I would rather, and that's the same reason why I do stop loss or take profit. If I am trading less, then I want that trade to mean something. I don't want to be putting this time and energy into a break-even trade. I'm assuming the risk beforehand, so I want to see the result of that decision making.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ash, I'm going to ask a couple things out of our chat. First, if they have not yet subscribed to our channel, to go ahead and do so, because you will be back every day this week at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Second, if they have not liked the stream yet, I think it's just a shame. What do you think, Ash? Total shame if they haven't liked it yet?
You gotta like the stream, sub to the channel. I'm not sure. Do you have sub only mode on here? Because
yes, we do.
If you guys want to chat with us, if you want to communicate with us, make sure you sub to the channel, like the video. We will be doing this every single week, each day. So turn the notifications on. That way you guys know when we go live, that you can come learn something, take a trade with us. You know, even if it's just entertainment, come watch us. We will be live throughout the week.
Yes. And if you have not put HB Ash in the chat yet, now is just as good a time as any. He is the big birthday boy. So you know, a little happy birthday, Ash, in the chat for doing his inaugural stream with us on his big 3-0. Happy birthday once again, sir. Ash, I'll send you off with a question. Which sessions do you trade? I saw somebody ask if you just trade New York or if you trade other sessions as well. So I'm going to ask you that and then turning it back over to you to keep going.
Absolutely. Thank you for the birthday wishes, you and everybody in chat. Unfortunately, I'm not getting any younger. I kind of wish I, you know, could stay 25 forever, but here we are, joining the 30s club. Thank you to everybody in chat. I really appreciate it. Hopefully that got you guys some discounts. I saw that everybody saw a little giveaway before I entered the stream. So for trading sessions, I don't think that there's one session that's better than the other. What I do think is that the opening times mean something. Again, time to me is a very important element. So there's Asia session. You can trade Asia open. There's London session. You can trade London open. There's New York session. You can trade New York open. What you should do is figure out what works best in your daily life, right? I'm from the US. I'm on the East Coast of the US. So for me, New York open makes the most sense. That is when I'm able to give my undivided attention to the market. And that's what matters, right? So in my opinion, if you got to put your kids on the school bus, right, just take the time and focus on the family. If your undivided attention is during London Open, choose that time. If your undivided attention is during Asia Open, choose that time. Okay, the thing that I do have to say is all the news in terms of the NASDAQ and the S&P happens during New York Open. You'll get an 8:30 a.m. driver. You'll get a 10 a.m. driver like this morning. All of the news, so in terms of volatility, occurs during New York Open. So that's another reason why I focus on New York Open. We quite literally need volatility for our P&L to go up, down. So I like to be participating when there's volatility. That doesn't mean that you can't participate in Asia or London. I'm just stating my preference. You can participate Asia Open, London Open, New York Open. My preference is New York because of the news, along with my daily life. I'm normally sleeping between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I get up around 6 a.m., start getting prepared for the day, which, this is another important kind of conversation to have here too. We have to practice how we play. So your preparation should be just as good as your execution. So if you're not giving yourself enough time to prepare for the market, I would do that, right? Make sure you have your coffee in the morning. Make sure you get a couple steps in so that your blood is flowing, right? Make sure that you send the kids off to school for the day. Then when you don't have any responsibilities to, deter your attention, then come to the market. And when you get to the market, you still have to continue to keep preparing, right? Get in here and make sure that you have enough time to go over your bias for the day. I would highly suggest, making sure that you do your review and your analysis first, not just simply showing up to the market and instantly clicking buttons. Yes, I understand that the market is open, but that doesn't mean that you have to be in a position. Okay, so the next thing I'll say about that is having those defined times gives you a justification to your actions, right? So you will understand what is a trade and what is not a trade simply just by time, right? If you say that you're only participating from 9:30 to 12 every single day, then when you see a trade at 5 a.m. in the morning, it's not a time to be risking, right? So at that point in time, it comes down to discipline, consistency, patience. So having those defined times gives you a logic to adhere to then align your actions with it. Okay. So for me, it's New York Open. I want to be participating at 9:30 to 12. I want to understand when the news drivers occur. I would like to be participating after the news. Okay. So, and this morning was a perfect example of that, right? So let's imagine we're participating at New York Open. So here's New York Open. All right, here's New York Open. Just make that a different line so we can see it a little better. Okay, so here's New York Open. And then let's imagine, we don't even have to imagine because this is what happened today. So let me change the vocabulary there. We had a 10 a.m. news driver. So now imagine you said that you were participating from 9:30 to 12 and you like to participate after the news driver. Okay, well, look at this entry here at 10:30. This occurred after the news. It was aligned with the bullish bias that I was speaking about this morning. You also have the entry function that I was referring to this morning. You were the only one to catch the long post-news. Right, so having justifications to your actions will show you what is and is not a trade. I think it's very important to have that type of structure along with knowing thyself. That's probably the most important out of all of them. Again, I'll say that one more time if anybody didn't hear me. Knowing thyself, right? Because this right here does not matter, right? Even if you can complete all of the justifications to your actions, it doesn't matter if your wife is calling you with an emergency, right? Then that your attention should be there, right? So always pick family and health first, and then know thyself. Know if you're willing to risk by utilizing time as an element to frame your trades. Then once you can do that, then set a game plan. And everybody watch me go through my game plan this morning. Fortunately enough, fortunate enough for my community, but unfortunate enough for everybody here that this trade occurred before that happened. So time is a very important element. Then it comes to knowing thyself. Let me head over to chat and see if we can get a couple more questions in here. I know I got another 15 minutes on the segment. Let's also get some thumbs up in chat. Let me know if you guys want to see me here 10:30 to 11:30 every single day of the week. I will definitely advise if there are any days that I can't make it. But again, I'm looking to publicly document my trading. If anybody can resonate with it and learn something from it, great. If not, then we can, at least share our experiences. In my opinion, being around other like-minded professionals really creates a lot of value. This is a very individualized business. It's a very isolated business. So that's why I enjoy sharing my information publicly, because, we get 10 times, 100 times the learning experiences if we were to do this together. So I enjoy being around other professionals, other like-minded individuals that are working towards the same thing. Once again, you just have to take extreme ownership in that. Okay. So I will be here publicly documenting my business. If there are trades during my session, we'll get to take them. If the trade happens before the session, like this morning, we'll review the trade, along with going over other mental, psychological, emotional intelligence items that we need to day trade. I also think that all of the logic and decision making that goes into these trades can be very valuable, right? So the experience this morning was we had a quite heavy downtrend all overnight. So it's harder for people to see the reversal at New York Open. But some of the logic that I was pointing to in terms of the higher time frame imbalance, the change in the state of delivery, and then actually that was the last thing that I didn't get to go over, but we can talk about it real quick, is divergences. This is the market showing me its hand type of insight. So take a look at this here. NQ took out all these lows right before New York Open. Take a look at this here. See the difference there? See the difference there? ES and NQ are two correlated assets. They should be moving the same at the same time. So seeing that ES did not take out this low when NQ did take out this low, to me, that's a crack in correlation. That's a divergence between two correlated assets. That, to me, is the market tipping its hand, saying something might happen here. You should pay attention to this area, right? That's the market tipping its hand. You can also use the higher time frame to see this as well. So, right, the 4 hour created the bias here this morning. And it's the same thing on the 4 hour. So we're inside of a higher time frame imbalance. The higher time frame imbalance is what would give the bias. And then once we receive a bias, we wait for the market to tip its hand. And you can see it here. So NQ took out the previous 4 hour candle low. ES did not take out the previous 4 hour candle low. So you get a bias. Then you get the market tipping its hand saying, we might want to show you something here. Then you get down to that lower time frame to look for the entry function that you use. Right? And the entry function occurred here on NQ, and that's why we pointed out. Let me put it on there one last time so we can show today's position. And this is what we're going to be doing. This is what we're going to be doing during my time of. We'll be reviewing these trades. We'll be reviewing price action. If a trade occurred that I took it, I'll show you the executions. If the trade occurs during my segment, we'll take it and we'll walk through the operation of it, the execution of it. And then we have the entry there. Okay, so if this is something that you all are interested in, again, like the channel, sub to the channel. Subbing to the channel will allow you to communicate with us here in chat. That way you can ask these questions. We can go over this information. We'll talk about the logic and turn on the notifications so that you can be aware of when we go live.
The notifications are critical. Very well said, sir. Ash, any other assets that we should take a look at? I don't know if you ever look at, I don't know, gold or crude or anything like that.
Yep. So I do keep an eye on Dixie. I keep an eye on Euro. I keep an eye on oil as well. So in my opinion, oil's heading for lower prices. If this sounds repetitive, it's because it is. This is the only framework that I kind of look at the market. So I'm not really a news individual. I'm not really like a economist, or I don't look at those macro type of events. For me, again, it was just the imbalance here. So we're clearly heading lower. During the time of heading lower, we get an imbalance to create a bias. The imbalance, excuse me, provides a nice rejection to price. So it looks like we're heading for the low. So for me, I've been looking for lower prices on oil. Nice gap down here to start the week. Then we can go over Dixie as well. So same exact thing here. Price is dealing with an imbalance. So looking to see if price can get supported by the imbalance. If it gets supported, I'll look for it to go to the high. So this is a correlation that I don't put a lot of emphasis on. I know majority of people are probably aware that Dixie is inversely correlated to NQ or ES. Dixie should be moving the opposite direction of NQ or ES. But the reason why I say that I don't really follow this correlation is because there's a lot of times where the correlation is not very strong. So I'm looking for Dixie to find some support in this area here to head to the high here. So we'll look for higher prices here. And then that could also bring me over to Euro. Euro is also inversely correlated to Dixie, and it's in the same situation. It's dealing with the same logic that I view price in. We're dealing with a bearish imbalance, right? Price was moving lower here. It created this imbalance. So I'm looking to see if that imbalance provides a rejection to price. So looking for this area to be resistance, looking for a move to the swing low there. Those are really the only assets I watch. Yeah, I do have GU on here. I have, the stocks. I have some crypto. I don't really participate here. This is long-term, in my opinion. Anything that I deal with in terms of stocks, those are just positions for long-term. Same thing with the cryptocurrencies. I really just focus on NQ and ES when it comes to day trading.
Okay.
if I look back at my stats, I have very little amount of trades on oil. That's if it's not NQ, it'll be ES. If it's not those two, it's very rare, but I'll also take maybe one trade on oil as well. So those are really the three assets I watch.
Okay. Awesome. And Ash, we're rounding into our last 5 minutes or so here, Mr. Birthday Boy. I'd like to give a note to the chat that if you are looking for a deal, use code YouTube with the link that I'm going to drop in the chat, and you will be able to get 20% off your starter plus. When Ash is on here tomorrow, we'll do some giveaways. All right. We already had his happy birthday 100 reset giveaway. We'll do another one tomorrow. So stay tuned. Make sure, again, you subscribe. You have the notification set up so you know when we're here and we're rocking and we're rolling and cooking. And then Ash, give us some final thoughts in our last 5 minutes or so here.
So some final thoughts. I'm huge into psychology, so you guys are going to hear me talk about this a lot. Let's make sure that we take extreme ownership of our risk. Again, I don't want to, see that we're pointing fingers or anything. In my opinion, you're the only person that will ever be clicking the button for yourself. So take that time to focus on your education. Take that time to gain those experiences. So come show up, trade with us each morning, learn the logic that we're providing to price, or just watch and take that time to learn. But let's gain the experience. Let's keep showing up every single morning, because experience is what provides that conviction. And once you gain some conviction, that's when we want to start risking in the market. The last thing I'll say is we need to get comfortable with risk. Risk is good. That's how we, progress in life. If you haven't done this yet, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. You just have to gain that conviction. Let's take a risk every single day so that we get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I love that. Take the risk every day to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I imagine it's a very personal thing to step into that out of that comfort zone, I suppose.
There is nothing easy about this. So I'll definitely say that this may be one of the most challenging businesses there are out there. That's why we have to practice it. That's why we have to build that muscle memory.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say too, and that's why this community is here. We do this that way. MyFundedFutures, again, is not just the trustworthy, transparent prop firm for you all. You're with easily to understand rules, objective, fast payouts, all that sort of thing. But we're a lot more than that. We're a community here on this YouTube channel, on our Discord. And that's why we spend this time creating this content and having this chat conversations. That way you're not doing it alone. Don't worry. We are here for you.
And I do also want to say thank you again. Very appreciative of all the happy birthdays. So thank you for that. It is quite the opportunity to be able to spend some time with you guys. So I really do hope that everybody continues to keep showing up, because we are going to walk through this logic each morning. We're going to walk through these trades. We'll talk trades. We'll talk accounts. That way we can understand all of the information to be properly risking.
Awesome. All righty, everyone. I will see you back here, right here at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Be hanging out with Forrest and Barbie. Then at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 90 minutes after we get started, Ash will be back, the discipline master. It won't be his birthday, but he will still have amazing content for us and be the jolly Ash that we are going to grow to love. And I'll have some more giveaways for you all as well. All right. Happy trading, everyone.
Have a good day, everyone.